Hello. Oh, wait, I almost forgot my microphone. I was rushing to put it in after I hit go live. So now you can hear me. Hello, I'm Kristin. Welcome to my channel, From Chronic Fatigue to Chronic Abundance. Welcome to my weekly live Q&A every Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern. I go live to answer your questions about living with severe chronic fatigue as a symptom. No question is too big or too small or too weird or too personal or any of that stuff. We talk about it all here. Some of the things we've talked about on this channel are diets. What's the best diet? Supplements, treatments. We talk about those things a little bit, but don't focus on them a whole lot because I, as one person, have had to heal from severe chronic fatigue on 3 separate occasions due to relapses. And I needed completely different things to heal each and every time, even different people to heal. So me as one person didn't have one plan for healing. So there's no magic bullet. There's no one plan for all of us to get better. It's really about helping support you on your journey to discover your health, to discover what your body needs to recover so you can thrive and actually feel like you're living again. So the other types of things we talk about on here are heavy emotions, because heavy emotions actually drain our energy, and our energy is already so low that we really can't afford to be losing energy to depression and anger and guilt and all those other things that plague us when we can't live the lives that we want to live. We also talk about, what do I do when my boyfriend doesn't support me? What do I do when my doctors don't believe me, right? All of those really common things, those experiences that we all tend to share when living with severe chronic fatigue as a symptom, whatever the cause. Maybe you've been diagnosed with ME/CFS. Maybe you have no diagnosis. Maybe you've been diagnosed with something like lupus or fibromyalgia or Lyme's disease or hyperthyroidism or anything in that spectrum. We still have shared life experiences when we have these poorly understood health issues that aren't well managed by conventional medicine, okay? So that's what we talk about here. Like my hat, I've never worn a hat on YouTube before. I always thought that the shadow would like not work, but it's actually working today. And it's a good thing because I'm having a bad hair day. Actually, I'm not even having a bad hair day. It's been too long since I washed it, is really the truth. Don't tell anybody. So the way this works is you can type your questions up, pop them in the chat box, then I just read through everything in order, go through one by one. I'm not easily offended. Don't worry about if your question is too whatever. This is really all about sharing, because whatever challenges you're having, I probably went through something similar, if not the same issue. And anyone else who's watching this has probably had the same issue or is currently living through something similar and could use some input. Now, I'm not saying that I'm the guru on what to do, okay? I'm providing my viewpoint. And here's why I'm sharing my viewpoint. It's because I have been able to heal from this on 3 separate occasions. So when I was sick, I was too sick to work. I couldn't even work from my laptop in bed an hour a day. I just couldn't do it. Like I had, like a normal office job. And even that was just too much for me to handle remotely. And I tried. My employer tried to keep me employed that first time, and we just couldn't make it work. Lost my train of thought there. Oh yeah, why I'm sharing my opinion. And then after healing and then relapsing and healing and relapsing, I've healed, and it's been about 4 years since my last relapse. Okay, so I feel really confident that not only have I figured out how to heal, which really isn't about finding the supplement or the protocol or the plan. It's really about experimenting and being open to trying new things in order to discover what my body needs to heal. It's about individualizing our healing recovery stories, okay? About realizing that there isn't one thing, it isn't the same thing that we're all going to need to heal. We're all going to need different things, and we all need to embark on our own journeys to get there, okay? So I'm sharing with you what has specifically worked for me sometimes, but mostly I am sharing the mindset that helped me heal each and every time, and the mindset that can help you heal. All right, I am not saying that my health issues were all in my head. Not even close, all right? There were physical things that were wrong with me that absolutely needed to be addressed physically with supplements and other treatments, okay? However, my mindset shaped how I approached my healing journey. It shaped how I interacted with doctors and who I chose to work with and who I stopped listening to. It shaped how well I adhered to specific protocols when I was trying new things out. It helped open up my mind to being experimental about my health. And being experimental about your health doesn't mean trying anything and everything. Like, I certainly did not try anything and everything. I educated myself a lot. I validated theories. I understood what the risks were. I worked with the guidance of an experienced practitioner when experimenting things. But when I say I went into it with an experimental mindset, it really means that I understood that there wasn't going to be anybody on this earth who could look at me, who could run some tests and say, you need XYZ, just do this exact thing and you're going to get better. That didn't exist. Okay, my experimental mindset had me realize that my healing journey was going to look more like a cha-cha than it was like a race. Okay, a race, you just put one foot forward in front of the other. You know exactly where you need to go. You start at the starting line and you finish at the finishing line, and that's just how a race goes, right? But with the cha-cha, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, okay? And you're spinning in circles and you're going all around the dance floor and you're not really sure where you started and you're not really sure where you're going to end up, but you're on the dance, even for those back steps, okay? And that really is what the healing journey looked like for me. It wasn't like this straight line of like, oh, I figured it out and I just get better and better and better. Even when I was finding things that were working for my body, it was still like all over the place in circles and like, you know, ups and downs, and it was all over the place. Okay. But over time I trended up. The general trend was one of healing and recovery, even though the specific day to day could have been and was all over the place. So yeah, I'm here to help you guys develop that mindset that is going to shape your behaviors and your thoughts and even your self-talk, and even help shape your emotions to give you the best chance for recovery, okay? Mindset is not at all going to heal you. My mindset is not what healed me. It is what shaped the actions I took to become better, okay? And that's what I'm sharing with you guys. The mindset that is going to shape your behaviors and your thoughts and your self-talk to give you the best possible chance for discovering what your body needs to heal. All right? You got any questions about that? I'm here. You can drop them in the chat box. If you have any questions about anything else you're living through, I'm here. Just drop them in the chat box. I could just sit here and just talk at you for an hour. I really don't like doing that. I much prefer to have questions to answer, because then I know I'm talking about things that are relevant to you, that are meaningful to you, that help you. If I wanted to just talk at the camera for an hour, then I wouldn't do a live stream. I would just talk at the camera for an hour on my own time and then upload this for you to watch. But I want the interaction. I want to be able to ask clarifying questions of you when you ask me questions. I like having the back and forth dialogue as well. I feel like I have something in my eye, so I'm going to just, maybe that's grossing people out if I touch my eyeball in front of them. Okay, that feels better. It doesn't feel better. It feels a little bit better. I'm going to let that go. I don't want to like interrupt the live stream to go mess with my contact too much right now. So we're just going to roll with it, and I'll deal with it afterwards, unless it gets too bad in the meantime. All right. So last time we were interrupted a couple minutes early. I hope that doesn't happen again. Last time there was a fire alarm that went off in my building. So every apartment building has like a speaker system built into it in the case of emergency. So it was setting off as blaring like, meh, 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 and then it was giving us instructions to leave the apartment, not use the elevators, make sure we took the stairs down, which is just a standard fire safety protocol. And we walked all the way down 26 floors and just got to the bottom floor when we were notified that it was a false alarm and we could come back upstairs. At that point, the elevators were working again, so we only had to walk down 26 flights of stairs and not up, thankfully. But it was all just a false alarm. And we were in the middle of, I thought it was a great conversation. Let me look up what we were talking about, because I posted about it in the Facebook group afterwards. Yeah, Jamie had asked a great question. Oh, yeah. So I'd been talking about emotions and how to process emotions because whenever we're fully present with our emotions and we allow our emotions to be felt, I'm not saying we have to act on all of our emotions. We absolutely do not have to do anything with our emotions, but we do have to feel them. Because whenever we refuse to feel them, the emotions actually kind of get stored within the body. The body has no way to allow the emotions to just dissolve or disintegrate without them being felt and acknowledged. So we're actually burdening ourselves by having to carry around these stored emotions in the future when we don't feel them. And that little tiny bit of energy it can take to store up these unfelt emotions can be felt by people who have severe chronic fatigue. It's making our lives a little bit harder every single day. And if we can free up those emotions and free up that energy, we're going to have a little bit more energy available to help us on our healing journey on a daily basis. Now, this is science isn't quite there with this theory of emotion because it is a theory. It's one I personally ascribe to because I feel like it describes my relationship with my emotions very well. My relationship with my emotions over the years has changed wildly. All my life until I became severely ill, and even while I was severely ill for the first couple of years, I didn't believe my emotions mattered. I really believe that my emotions were just annoyances that got in the way of what I should be doing. They got in the way of me working and excelling and working out and eating healthy and being social. And they didn't matter. And not only did they not matter, emotions were bad. Period. It's kind of how I felt. So I hardly let myself feel anything. I really tried to stuff it all down. And the thing about stuffing down your negative emotions is that the body doesn't really work that way. The mind doesn't really work that way. Whenever you're trying to squish down your negative emotions, the body's also squishing down happy ones. So if you aren't letting yourself feel the full range of negative emotions, you can't feel the full range of happy emotions either. So the more you squish down your negative emotions, the more you're squishing down your positive emotions, and you get in a very blank place. Some people feel depressed. Some people just don't feel anything. You start to question life. What's the point? You start maybe having suicidal thoughts, like I've been there. And there are a growing number of people who are very educated and experienced in medicine, who have degrees, who are psychologists, who are, I don't want to say they're finding it in the science. There's indications of this. There are scientific results that point towards this as a potential explanation for what's happening. But this idea that if you stuff down too many of your emotions for too long, it actually makes you more susceptible to disease in the long term. It's not going to happen over like a day or a weekend. We're talking about years or decades of emotional repression. It's actually highly correlated with certain types of very, very awful illnesses. And so it gets tricky with the exact words to use here because I want to be clear and I want to share these ideas because I think they're important. But I also don't want to be misunderstood when I say these things. Now, my emotional repression, my own self-emotional repression is not the only reason I became ill. I don't believe that at all. I feel like there were a lot of other factors happening in my life that contributed to that. If you guys are curious about those other factors, I can talk about that if you want, but you have to let me know in the comments if that's something you want to hear about. Many people, from what I've seen, whenever someone talks about their own repressed emotions contributing to their health issues, a lot of people get into a blame game with that. A lot of people say, well, are you saying you're at fault for getting sick? Are you saying it's your fault for getting sick? Or are you saying, well, if I'm repressing my emotions, are you telling me it's my fault that I got sick? And that's not what I'm saying. It's not a matter of blame, right? I don't know. I don't have the words to talk about this in general. I haven't given this enough research and thought and everything to talk about it in general, but I can talk about it from my own perspective. And I think that sharing my example, my singular example, still provides some insight and depth to what I'm saying, and may still provide some useful food for thought for you, some reflection, some things to reflect on. So, give me a second to make sure I'm going to say this right. All right. So for me, my emotional repression was because of my upbringing, because of the way my parents shaped the dynamic between me and them, and between me and my sisters, and them and my sisters. Does that make it my parents' fault that I got sick? No, I don't. It doesn't make it their fault. I don't blame them either. I didn't know how, even after I'd moved out of the house and I was away from my parents for years and years, I still saw them on holidays and whatever, but largely my life was not around them. I was still living in an emotionally repressed way. And at some point, I believe, once we become adults, it becomes our own responsibility to identify our own emotional shortcomings in life and to work on those and to develop ourselves fully as humans. The things our parents didn't teach us and couldn't teach us, it becomes our responsibility to learn how to do those things. And my emotional repression was a result largely of a lack of coping skills. You can put 10 people in the same situation and you will get 10 different outcomes, 10 different experiences of that situation, 10 different reactions to that situation. So you could have put somebody else in the same dynamic with my parents and my sisters, and they would have come out of that differently than I did, okay? And by acknowledging that I was in some ways very emotionally immature, even though I was a high performer at work and I could, handle myself professionally very, very well, internally to myself, what I was hiding from everybody else is that I was a complete mess and hurting a lot. I was miserable. I was extremely, extremely miserable. Excuse me. And 10 years later now, a full decade after I first became ill, my perspective now is that I lacked coping skills, and I needed that emotional maturity, that emotional maturation to happen in order to be able to manage my emotions and to develop myself enough in order to be able to live according to what I call the healing mindset, which is what I love talking about on here. I wasn't capable of the healing mindset when I first got ill. It took my illness taking everything away from me. It took my illness breaking me down spiritually and emotionally for me to finally be open to a new way of living, to finally realize that the way I'd been living wasn't working, to finally have just the rubbish of my internal life in front of me and no hopes or prospects for the future. No healing was happening at this point. Very, very little was happening at that point. To acknowledge that there could be a different way to move forward that would be more sustainable for me, a way to move forward that would provide me with an identity and self-worth that wasn't tied to what I did. Since when I was severely ill, I couldn't do anything. And that meant I had no identity, and that meant I had no worth. And that was extremely harmful, because that is when suicidal thoughts start to come in, when you feel like you have no identity, no purpose, no worth, and no prospects of reclaiming any of those. It's a very, very dangerous place to be in, and many of us find ourselves in that place. So luckily I was working with an amazing health coach at the time who, she didn't call it the healing mindset. She didn't have like a big framework for what she was walking me through, but she helped open my eyes and my mind to doing the inner work of addressing my inner world. And that saved me. It saved me not just spiritually and emotionally, but it also helped save me physically because it finally got me out of my own way when it came to healing. Okay. Let me think through that. Is there anything else that I need to hit on this topic? Is this clear to you guys? Is this making sense? Is this resonating? Is this something that feels wrong to you? Like, I want to hear about how this is landing for you. So I had to, let me think through this. So I had to develop emotional coping mechanisms. So yeah, I think maybe in summary, what I'm saying is that in order to begin physically healing, I needed to mature and grow emotionally first. That was my healing journey. That was part of my healing journey. Because I was so emotionally immature that my mind was very closed to doing things any way else than I had been doing them. But I finally had to face the fact that the way I had been doing things led me to this place of being severely ill, of having no options out, and seeing almost no progress for all the work that I was putting in to heal. And I'm so glad I finally got to that low point, that breaking point where I felt like I had nothing, and I had the right person to guide me out of there. Because it opened my mind to trying things a new way, not just emotionally, but it got me to try things in a new way physically. Because, and this next point is actually not a controversial one. It's a very well understood one, very scientifically backed up point, which is whenever our bodies are stressed out, like I used to live completely stressed out, we actually can't fully heal. We actually have like our foot hard on the brake when it comes to like our body's healing and maintenance abilities when we're stressed out. And that's just because of the nature of stress, the way biology, because of the function of stress biologically, it deprioritizes healing and maintenance, because whenever we're stressed out, it's this idea that we're going to have to physically perform to defend ourselves or to run away. So it's prioritizing the production of cortisol and adrenaline. It's prioritizing blood flow to the muscles. It's increasing our heart rate. And what it's doing, in order to send more blood to the muscles, it's got to take blood away from other parts of the body. It's deprioritizing blood flow. Stress deprioritizes blood flow to the higher reasoning parts of the brain. It deprioritizes blood flow to our guts. So our digestion stops working as well momentarily. It is deprioritizing the immune system and our body's maintenance and healing features. Because the idea of stress biologically is that whenever you need to perform in the short term, it's only going to be for a very short period of time. And then the body can rest and heal and go back into like healing, like rest and digest mode. There's actually two different nervous systems in the body that regulate the stress response and the rest and digest response. And the problem with modern life is that we are kind of always in the stress response. We very rarely prioritize the rest and digest response in the body. Okay. So because I was living so stressed out before, and because I was so stressed out about being sick, and I was so stressed out about having no identity and no worth, and I was so stressed about seeing like no progress for all the work I was doing, it was actually making it harder for my body to heal. And once I learned how to shut down the stress response, and not only shut it down, like some of us can like stop stressing, but just because we stop stressing doesn't mean we were activating the rest and digest nervous system. We need to do both. We need to chill down. We need to chill out, but we also need to turn on the healing rest and digest. We need to feel good. Like the best sign that you're in rest and digest is that you're feeling calm and feeling really happy and warm and fuzzy and just good at the same time. All right. And once I learned how to do that second part, I was out of my own way biologically, okay? Because biology and mindset constantly influence one another. My mindset was influencing my biology to get into rest and digest mode. My body's innate healing capabilities were activated and turned on and allowed to start functioning. And I began to see progress. Now, again, this activation of, it's called the parasympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system is a stress response. The parasympathetic nervous system is the rest and digest response. Through activating the rest and digest, it was not enough to heal me. I wasn't going to get better just from activating my nervous systems differently, from learning how to manage those. Was not enough to heal me. I needed supplements and treatments and things to help me heal, but my body could do so much more with them when it was in the rest and digest response. The biological pathways were no longer blocked. There was no longer a gate in the way, okay, figuratively speaking. My body was fully able to utilize the treatments when I was in parasympathetic nervous system dominance. So that helps to illustrate the importance of mindset. Not only does it help us save a little bit of energy every day from our heavy emotions, from our emotional blocks, it also frees up, the right mindset frees up our body to go all in on the healing response, okay? And that's just straight biology. And I wish those two things were enough to heal all of us. Maybe there's a few people out there who the combination of those two things will be enough, but for many of us, if you've gotten as ill as I was, if you were more ill than I was, you're probably going to need a lot more than just mindset and working with your biology and your nervous system. But if you have those two things down, if you're solid on your mindset and you're solid on being able to activate the parasympathetic nervous system, they will give you the absolute best shot at healing that you've got, and they will help keep you going while you're still looking for the doctors and other practitioners you need, while they're still doing blood work, while you're still testing out different supplements and doses and combinations. And it's a lot of work to get better, but the right mindset and the right biology are going to make it so much easier. Okay. All right, so we're halfway in. I have 0 questions. I'm going to stay on for a couple more minutes. If I get questions, I am happy to stay on for the full hour like I normally do. But if I don't get questions in, then I am going to drop off because I hate doing just like a monologue like this so much. Like I said, I'm totally happy to stay on for another half hour. I would love to get your questions to answer. So you can get them in the chat box now, and then I can start answering them. Until then, let me see. Do I have any fun updates? I guess I have some fun life updates I can share. So I have 3 younger sisters, and 2 of them are married, and they are both pregnant right now. And those 2 got pregnant almost the same time earlier this year, which is crazy. They're both due in October. Like the due dates are very close to one another. It's creepy. And they're both having little girls. Isn't that so sweet? So the other sister, the other younger sister is engaged right now. She's getting married in August. And her bridal shower is this weekend, which is really fun and wonderful. So I'm actually going to be going to a bridal shower party. And that might alarm some of you because of coronavirus that's happening. So here's why I feel okay going. So the party is going to be held in a very, very rural area where they had very few COVID-19 cases, single digit cases in their whole county, which is a large area of land. If you're not familiar with the counties in the US. So everyone there, very, very low exposure risk. I mean, it really didn't hit them hard at all. And the couple of cases they had, I think they did like contact tracing and they had people quarantine themselves and it wasn't an issue. And the party's going to be outside, further decreasing, transmission issues. So, I'm coming from a city though, and we had a moderately bad case of COVID-19 here. Our hospital beds never got overfilled. I think at most we were up to like 75% capacity of hospital beds due to COVID-19. Our cases weren't anywhere near as bad as New York or anything like that. They weren't good, but they weren't, as bad as they could have been. And I've made sure I had conversations with my family members like, hey, we are coming from Philly. We are carrying a much higher risk of COVID-19 than you are. Not saying we have it. Like, there's by no means like any certainty that we're going to bring it, but the risk is there. How do you guys feel? And everyone's educated on the topic. Everyone's made their decision. They feel totally fine. They're not worried about it. They're willing to take any risks that may come with like me and my boyfriend traveling out there for the party. So, as much as I think that there is a lot of personal accountability and responsibility in helping to limit the transmission of this, I think there is also a little bit of allowing people to decide what risk they're comfortable with and moving forward with that. So I'm going to be able to see kind of my whole family this weekend, which would be cool because it'll be the first time I've seen my sisters since I knew they were pregnant. And they're both showing because they're both like, what are they at? Like 5 months? Oh my God. They're both like 5 months pregnant now. So we have a lot to celebrate as a family. 2 pregnancies, 1 engagement. It's going to be cool. Hi, Nika. Glad you're here. You've tested iodine. It's in the upper range. Upper range is in like good levels. I'm assuming that means. You're still waiting for results of the Nutrivol test. Yeah, you went to see a doctor in a hospital and they are going to test your mitochondria. That's great. Yeah, that Nutrivol test looks so interesting. I totally want the details on that if you're willing to share them when you get them. Yeah, so here's the thing. Like, they're going to test your mitochondria. Your mitochondria are very likely going to come back as impaired in some way, as underfunctioning in some way. Like, that's pretty much a hallmark of severe chronic fatigue and ME/CFS and all that stuff. So like, I think the real surprise would be if your results came back normal for that. That would actually be a big surprise. However, if your mitochondria are impaired, do you know what the doctor's treatment plan for you would be? Like, is this just about confirming that something is wrong, or is this test going to result in some treatment plan that can actually help you? Because unfortunately, a lot of these mitochondria tests just say, oh, yep, there's something wrong, but then there's nothing to do about it. So they can be, so I'm just sharing this to help set your expectations and also to ask the question, do you know what the doctor would do if that test came back showing that your mitochondria function is poor? Because there's a good chance it will. And you're going to test for viruses. What to test more if everything comes up negative? I mean, so here's the thing, Nika, you can test like thousands of things in the body. There's a lot of things to test. You can test until you have no money and no blood left, right? That's kind of a gruesome way to put it. I'm not great for telling you what you should test. I can share with you guys what I had tested and what I was diagnosed with and all that stuff. But in some cases that's helpful. Like, it helped Anna discover that she has a pretty severe iodine deficiency. But in this case, Nika, like, you got iodine tested and it sounds like your iodine levels are pretty okay. So it's not, knowing what to test next should really come from whatever health practitioner you're working with, whether that's a doctor, an MD, a functional medicine doctor, a homeopath, or whoever. Like, you want to be working with someone who understands the systems of the body and can use your symptoms to help guide what to look at. Because, we don't want to just be like throwing like darts at a board hoping we hit the bullseye. Like, we can throw thousands and thousands of darts at a board and never hit the bullseye, right? So I wouldn't say I feel comfortable like giving you, like telling you what else to test, because there's just so many things out there. And I wouldn't, like, some of the groups of things that my doctor will test, things he'll look for is like, what are the groups he uses? He sees a lot of people, he sees a lot of patients who have like fungal issues. Okay. If you have mold or fungal overgrowths in the body. That's one set of issues that he'll use like one set of blood work to help diagnose and shape a treatment plan. Or there are gut issues, anything along the digestion tract. He has a different set of testing that he will use to diagnose and formulate treatment plans for gut-based issues. It doesn't mean like, oh, my gut hurts, or oh, I have IBS. It could mean you have a certain set of symptoms that tells my doctor that it likely is of gut origin, and he'll do testing to confirm that and then help you formulate a treatment plan. You could have neurological based issues and symptoms, and that would be a different set of testing. So without being an expert, because I'm not a doctor, not a therapist on any of those things, and without knowing extensively your health history, what's been tested and stuff, I'm not great at telling you what you should look at next, unfortunately. I don't have that breadth of experience. I wish I did, but to be honest, guys, I'm not going to go back. I'm not going to go to med school. At this point, it's not what I want for myself. Sorry. Treatment is L-carnitine. Okay. That's the only thing. I'd be surprised. That would be the only thing he would put you on. Like that would be great. I think L-carnitine can be great, but I would think you would. Is it L-carnitine or acetyl-L-carnitine? I think they're, yeah. L-carnitine and acetyl-L-carnitine are different. I was on acetyl-L-carnitine in combination with CoQ-10 to treat mitochondrial deficiency. And that combo was great for me, but only in the right ratios and proportions. So like you can't just take those two things and expect them to work well together. They have to be balanced, and the balance is very individual and personal, and you have to have someone knowledgeable guiding you on what ratio may be good for you, tracking your symptoms, understanding what those symptoms mean, and then being able to guide you in altering the ratios of those two things if you would go on both of those, acetyl-L-carnitine and CoQ-10, or CoQ-10 and just L-carnitine. So if your doctor is saying just L-carnitine, I hate to say this because I know you're stuck with who you work with. I'd be a little cautious about the results that you might be getting from them. Nika, actually, I want to bring up quickly something I posted to Facebook last week, the Facebook group last week. There's this woman I follow online. She is a licensed MD. Her name is Dr. Jolene Brighton. She's phenomenal. She specializes in women's hormones and women's periods and women's birth control. However, she had a really, really great tip last week. One of her followers had asked her the question, how can I get my doctor to order labs? What to say when they won't, okay? So I think we've all had that struggle of being stuck with the doctor who's not listening, who's refusing to test things. And if you really, really want to get a test and you can afford it, and like you have an idea of what to do with the results and all that kind of good stuff, she shared that when a doctor says no to a request for lab work or even just medication, if you want to get put on a medication and the doctor's saying no, ask the doctor to document their refusal in your chart. Ask them to write it down, put a computerized note in there, however they're taking notes at your hospital, and the doctor may reconsider. Here's the thing, like when you ask a doctor to document their refusal of a test or a medication, that puts them at liability, because if down the road someone else discovers that you did need that test or you did need that medication that they refused you, they're now at risk of being sued. So whenever they're denying you something and you ask them to document that, they're going to reevaluate, because suddenly the stakes for them saying no have gotten a lot higher. They're like, am I willing to risk my license? Am I willing to risk getting sued over refusing this test? And most of them are probably going to be like, all right, you can have the test, because I don't want to document the refusal. So that could be not a great way to work with your doctors, Nika, but if you need to resort to that, I would just keep that tucked in your back pocket. All right, Dr. Nika. So the doctor said L-carnitine in high doses. Yeah. So that could help but I am personally suspicious of whether that would be enough for you. That being said, like, I didn't start CoQ-10 and L-carnitine together. Like, my doctor had me start one, make sure I didn't have a negative response to it, then start the other, make sure I didn't have a negative response to it, and then we worked out the doses. So like, it definitely could be a scenario where if you get the results back that your mitochondria are compromised and he puts you on L-carnitine at high doses, you can see how you respond. If that's all you need, amazing and great. We're all really happy, right? If it's not everything you need, then it's time to start looking at other things, but one step at a time. So Nika, I mean, this sounds like the most focused your treatment plan has been in a while, to be honest. I think that's a really good thing. Maybe it doesn't feel as good as the results and progress, but you know, having a plan to work on, I think is actually something to celebrate. I think it's really great. So I'm really glad you have some direction that you're heading in with this. But let us know how the results come back. All right, I don't know how to say that name. Go to Scotland. Are there better ME/CFS doctors in Scotland that I haven't heard about? Because if there are, I have a lot of people who'd be interested to hear about that. Yeah, you're welcome, Nika. Oh man, it is a beautiful day here in Philadelphia. Maybe I shouldn't say beautiful. It's a nice day. It's cloudy, but it's like warm, but it's not too hot. It's like that perfect like end of spring, beginning of summer weather before it gets too humid here, which is really rare and special. All right. All right. So since we're light on questions today, I am going to drop off. If you guys want to continue the conversations, if you have more questions, if you want to engage with me, but also engage with other people who enjoy this channel and you know, are trying to live more of the healing mindset in their lives, I encourage you to come join the Facebook group. After this video is over, you can like refresh the page, and in the description down below, there's a link to join the Facebook group in there. You have to request and answer a few questions for me, and then I'll let you right in. And it's free for anyone to post. So you're already taking ATP fuel. I'm gonna check that out. I'm gonna check that out here real quick. Researched nutraceuticals. I haven't heard of them, but that's okay. What's in here? What's in here? Okay, it's CoQ-10. So you're already doing CoQ-10. You're doing NADH. So it's a form of B3. Okay, so you're taking a B vitamin, a CoQ-10, a form of the B3 vitamin. NT factor energy. Whatever that means. NT factor maximum potency. Mitochondrial pro-regulator, Krebs cycle glucose absorb. And there's just a lot of trademarked names. It doesn't really tell me what's in the supplement, unfortunately. It's an interesting combo. Oh, here we go. So it's got some vitamin E, some calcium, some phosphorus, some magnesium. Oh. Your NT factor proprietary blend is fructooligosaccharides. Not really, doesn't sound super medical. Fructooligosaccharides. Sugars. It's a very specific type. Actually, let me look that up. I used to know this stuff. It's been too long since I've looked into this. Fructooligosaccharides are actually a food group that a lot of people, I shouldn't say a lot, some people with severe health issues and severe gut issues are actually intolerant to. So it's interesting to see that as like a main ingredient in an energy supplement. Yeah, they are sugars. They're plant sugars, linked in chains. Okay, so it wasn't super far off. Rice bran extract, MSM, no idea what that is. Bromelain. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's something that's very prevalent in pineapple, right? Bromelain. Oh yeah, it's a mixture of enzymes extracted from pineapple. So you got some enzymes in there, not a bad thing. This is a really interesting one. Sulfur's great. A lot of modern diets don't have enough sulfur. L-arginine, L-glycine, a little bit of glycine, a little bit of taurine. Okay, you got some amino acids, ALA. Yeah, this is a really interesting. This is a really complex supplement that you're on, Nika. Yeah, it's got a lot of stuff. Oh wow, so you have to take 5 capsules per serving. That's a lot. I guess it's because there's so much stuff in these. Yeah, super, super duper interesting. Let's see. Thanks, Alex Len. Nika, has it been working for you? What's it called? I already forget what it's called. ATP Fuel been working for you? Do you feel any better on it? Because honestly, it turns out that you're already taking L-carnitine. Like you already have L-carnitine in your ATP fuel, as well as CoQ-10. Now the doses may need to change. Maybe this isn't enough because the doses are too low for what you may need. Hopefully your testing will reveal if you need other levels, but you are already taking that stuff if you weren't aware. Let's see. All right. So it's probably not super interesting for me to sit here and like read through the ingredients list of supplements. So I'm going to head out, guys. As always, sending you so much love and so much health. I wish the best for you. I hope for answers as well as progress for all of you. And I would love to hear from you in the Facebook group. Even if you guys would just like drop in and say just like a hey, you know, that would really help. All right. Take care, guys. See you next week. Same time, same place. Bye.